cha dharmasya sarvadharmasvarupine Stapakaya cha dharmasya sarvadharmasvarupine Avatar Varishtaya Ramakrishnaya te namah Asato ma sadgamaya Tamaso ma jyotirgamaya Asato ma sadgamaya Tamaso ma jyotirgamaya Mrityorma mritangamaya Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let us offer our salutations to Sri Ramakrishna, the embodiment of all religions, the Supreme God incarnate, to remove all our ignorance, to remove all obstacles in our spiritual path, so that we can reach the goal so that we may experience peace and bliss. Sri Ramakrishna always gives spiritual instructions which are meant to be practiced. He was talking to Pandit Shashadhar that he should hereafterwards should engage himself in spiritual practices so that he might acquire spiritual strength. Then he said to Narendra, who sang a song in front of Sri Ramakrishna, but Sri Ramakrishna could not enjoy it, so he left the room. He just could not bear. Then he said to him, well, do you know why I left the room? Because your mind is now set on seeking a job. Your mind is on some worldly matters. That means your mind is not on the theme of the song which you are singing. You are singing mechanically, but the mind is somewhere else. So, the song sounded dull. So I had to leave the place. Narendra felt ashamed of himself and remained silent. There is another instance. Once Rani Rasmani, the founder of Dakshineshwar Kali temple, who constructed the whole temple. Very devoted lady. She had many times the vision of the Divine Mother Kali. In fact, he got the direction from the Divine Mother to build a temple. So, the temple was built and Sri Ramakrishna became the priest of the temple. And Sri Ramakrishna devoted his whole heart and soul in worshipping the Mother. He wanted to see her in flesh and blood. He wanted to talk to her. He wanted to know whether God is really real or simply theory. So he is putting his maximum effort to know the truth. Practice all the prescribed disciplines. Gather the whole mind, never allowing the mind to distract in any manner. Completely disregard towards worldly matters. Whole mind was saturated by the thought of the Divine Mother. He got the vision of the Mother. He was overwhelmed with joy. Most fantastic experience he had, and he felt himself completely fulfilled. From that time onwards, he was all along cheerful, all along smiling, joyful, peaceful, serene. All the divine qualities which we read in the scriptures could be seen in Sri Ramakrishna's personality, on account of his realization of the Divine Mother. One day, Rani Rasmani came there to the temple to offer her prayers. Sri Ramakrishna had just completed the worship. Rani Rasmani knew very well that Sri Ramakrishna was a great devotee of the Divine Mother. And she knew well that Sri Ramakrishna went into ecstasy many times. So when she came there, she requested Sri Ramakrishna to sing a song on the Divine Mother. Sri Ramakrishna started singing a song on the Divine Mother. He was singing. Rasmani was sitting in front of the image of Kali. She had closed her eyes. Suddenly Sri Ramakrishna got up from his seat and slapped her. That created a commotion all around. All the people around the temple, they were all whispering, "What happened? What happened?" Only Sri Ramakrishna, only Rani Rasmani knew what exactly happened. Sri Ramakrishna said to her, "You are thinking of the court even here?" Sri Ramakrishna could read her mind. You asked me to pray for Divine Mother. I thought your mind is concentrating on the mother, but your mind is on the court, on some litigation. Your body is here, your mind is somewhere. She didn't say anything. She accepted what Sri Ramakrishna said silently. She asked him to excuse her. Well, that is the story. What I am telling is, your spiritual life begins only when you know how to deal with your mind. It is a conscious struggle. You will have to put forth effort in every possible way to turn the mind towards God. All along the mind had turned towards the world. How long the mind has gone in the ways of the world, nobody knows. So to bring back the mind from the long way, to turn it towards God, means effort. Purusha prayatna. So, success or failure depends upon how you control and deal with your mind. It's a very important subject. It plays very important role in our life. You need certain state of mind to practice meditation, concentration, and offer your sincere prayers. You will have to have certain state of mind. So self-introspection is very important in the spiritual path. Mind, it represents thoughts. Thoughts represent incipient actions, initial actions. And concrete actions come from initial actions. It is difficult to control the mind, but to a certain extent you can control your actions. If we think we shall take a dinner at a certain time, we shall take our dinner at a certain time, very often we succeed. Many actions which we do, we plan and we succeed. We cannot control all our actions. But sometimes, though not very often, we can control them. It is easier in certain respects than to control our thoughts. Therefore, to deal with our thoughts, we must begin by controlling our actions. We have to do actions. Actions are meant for purification of the mind. Those are fortunate who find good actions to occupy themselves with. To be able to occupied with works is something. To be occupied with works is something, but the work must be good work. The right kind of work, and it must be done in the right spirit. So many steps are there to organize the thoughts in our mind. Then, through work, we can control our thoughts. What is good work? What is bad work? We have to understand very clearly. Because we are trying to live spiritual life, we should know the things properly, which makes easy to go along in the path. The work that is done with selfish motives is bad work. The work that is done with unselfish motives is good work. The work in which your I-ness, that is ego, predominates is wrong work. The work in which you think you are an instrument in the hands of God, not I, but thou. O Lord, not I, but thou. That is good work. Whatever you do for others will give you joy. The more you can do for others, the more you can work with some idealism, with some purpose beyond gross selfishness, the greater will be your joy. Not only joy, it will bring you calmness of mind and serenity of heart. Whatever work is done with some idealism, for a purpose that is not our selfish motive, for others, for the country, for the humanity, that's good work. So the first stage in spiritual life is to occupy oneself with good works. Work done with a spiritual outlook. Spiritual outlook is essential. With what outlook you are carrying on your activities. To do work in such a way that it will give us the knowledge of the self. That's important. What is the knowledge of the self? We are not what we feel we are. We feel we are the body and the mind. It is not so. There is something behind the mind, a background against which the mind plays. Sometimes good play, sometimes mischief. Beyond body and mind, there is the self, the Atman. That Atman, because it is spiritual essence, is all pervading. You may call it Brahman, which means infinite, or you may call it God. God is the sum total of all life, the permanent reality behind our ego. What is there behind I? That is Atman. The body grows and decays. The mind is fickle. It is restless. It's always changing. They cannot be ultimate reality. You can't depend upon body and mind. Reality is the Atman. That which is beyond the body, beyond the mind, beyond your ego. So, what is the spiritual outlook toward work? That attitude by which you can go beyond body and mind consciousness, beyond the body-mind complex. So our work should be done in such a way that the consciousness that we are the self comes uppermost. To do work as a form of worship. As I said, work is done with all these different high purposes. Work for the love of God and not for your personal or selfish enjoyment. Why should you work for the love of God? Because that will bring you spiritual unfoldment. That's why we always stress upon to do the work for the love of God. You will be able to go nearer and nearer to the consciousness of the self or God. Some do the work with the ideal, I am self, I am not the body. The senses do work, but I am not involved in that work. I am separate. I am divine. Spirit is separate from the work. The body does work, but not the spirit. In that way, they develop the consciousness that I am divine. Work for work's sake. Swami Vivekananda has specified this in his Karma Yoga lectures. Not for any gross selfish motive. To work for work's sake means to work because you have to work. Otherwise your mind will do mischief. And if you work with a selfish motive, you suffer. It has got reaction. So work has many dangers too. As soon as you work with a selfish motive, there will come competition, hopes and fears. Asha pasha shrairbaddhaha kamakrodha parayanaha ihante kamabhogartam anyayena artha sanchayan. They work forced by the desires. They are not able to satisfy their desires. They become irritant and they do all sorts of crimes and violent actions to satisfy their selfish desires. They worry about gain and loss. Labha, labho, sukha, dukkha. They're always being tormented by pleasure and pain, profit and loss, and so on. But if you work simply for work's sake or with some idealism, serving the world in humility for your spiritual growth, that will give you the serenity of mind. And if you cultivate that attitude, your spiritual outlook will be intensified. Even if you have no spiritual outlook to begin with, and you find that you can't control your mind, if you work in this way, spiritual outlook will grow, spiritual consciousness will come by your continued effort. And when spiritual consciousness comes, your mind gets a direction. From that standpoint, if you know that you are beyond mind, you can control your mind. As soon as selfishness begins to dwindle, spiritual consciousness comes in the form of serenity of mind. You become placid, you become calm, you get some joy which is quite different from sense pleasure. It is pure, it is unalloyed. To intensify that attitude, it is prescribed to think definitely for the good of all. In the beginning, you can't think of the good of all, it is merely a theory. But when you try to practice, when you try, although you fail, to work for others, then you develop a new outlook. Then you can think and pray for the good of all. In Vedanta, there is a famous prayer which we pray every day. May all be happy. Sarve jana sukhino bhavantu. Sarve santu niramayaha. Sarve bhadrani pashyantu. Ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhavet. Let all the people in the universe be happy. Let them be free from misery. Let good come to them. We pray for the whole humanity. Simply by this prayer, if one prays with heart and soul, if one meditates on what it means to pray for the good of all, one will have calmness. Even while praying, if you say, let all the people be happy, if you pray in a wholehearted way, you feel a kind of peace inside. Because your prayer is pointed towards everyone. So, one will have calmness. There will be less of hostile feeling within one. If one has enemies, the feeling of enmity towards them will be less and less. In the same way, if you deliberately try to feel sympathy for those persons who are suffering, it's called karuna. Karuna. The Sanskrit word that translates as compassion, but that's not the exact, it doesn't give the exact meaning of karuna. You are overwhelmed with sympathy. You wholeheartedly feel for the people who suffer. Even if you can't do anything in action, gradually you will develop great sympathy. That will be an antidote for your egocentricity, for your pride. If you try deliberately to feel happy for those who are successful in life, that will be an antidote for your jealousy and envy. If you try to deliberately to have sympathy for those who fail, gradually you will be less upset by others. You will not find fault with others. So many uses are there in performing the work in the right spirit. Mind represents clusters of unadjusted thoughts, wild thoughts, just like in dreams. In dreams you come across so many thoughts you can't explain. Sometimes you'll be able to do some sort of explanation. That's also not very clear. We don't find any logic behind them. So that is about the thoughts in the dreams. So many thoughts coming up, overcrowding and spoiling your sleep. In the same way, in our waking state, such thoughts come in a jumbled form. We do get many thoughts in our waking state. Sometimes we wonder why all these thoughts are coming. We don't find any logic to them. You have to deal with these matters in a different way. If you act with a spiritual motive throughout the day, if you cultivate the virtues, it becomes easier to control the mind. At least there is a background. Already you have achieved some serenity of mind, some placidity of outlook. Then you are ready to begin to pray for the knowledge of the self. Some kind of steadiness, calmness of mind is required to do spiritual practices effectively. If you are of devotional type, you just pray to God for more and more devotion, more and more love for Him, so that you may know the meaning of life. And there is meditation. Meditation means concentrating on a particular thought. In the beginning, many thoughts come to the mind. All these thoughts represent the past desires in your life, in this life, or in previous lives if you believe in reincarnation. They have got some roots. Without the roots, the plants will not sprout. So thoughts have some roots, some reason behind why those thoughts have come up. Sometimes some unfulfilled past desires come into your mind in this life. Instead of giving importance to them, do not even recognize them. By giving recognition to them, you give them life. You make them live thoughts. They irritate you now and then. They become activated because of your importance. So, what you should do, try to think of positive things, spiritual things deliberately. Try to give your thoughts a direction. By continued practice, you will be able to succeed. You will find that wild thoughts become less and less. Thoughts will be simplified. So many thoughts will not come. You feel more and more calm, less disturbance. Then you will be able to think in a particular way, and you will find out the art of controlling other thoughts. One method is just to consider all other thoughts to be non-existent. Just like the patches of clouds in the sky, they are floating there, but they will not bring you rain. You consider the thoughts of yourself to be the only real thoughts, and all others to be unreal. In that way, your mind gets a proper direction. Once you are able to set your mind in the proper direction, then you begin to experience various spiritual visions. You will be experiencing more and more peace and joy. You feel more and more love towards all the people. They all come to you by themselves. All the virtues that just manifest in you. So what is needed is, you must know how to deal with your mind. Consciously you must try to keep the mind in a proper way. That's what Sri Ramakrishna meant when he said Vivekananda, oh, your mind was thinking something else. You are singing about God, but there is no connection. It's just like a machine playing this song. You are just like a machine if the mind is not with you. Machine is doing its part. So consciously, you must be aware of your actions, what type of actions you are doing, in what way the actions are helpful to you, in what way the actions are taking you in the spiritual path. You have to put yourself into the test. You have to put yourself into the test and find out the result. That is called self-introspection. If you are able to do that, you are sure to get success. Success comes by itself. That's why Lord Krishna says, Ma phaleshu kadachana. Do thy work. Don't look in for results. Results automatically come. That's the meaning. You don't have to bother your head about the result. If you are bothering, that means to that extent that part of the mind is not functioning properly, not focusing properly in the work. That part of mind is cut off. That means you are obstructing the good result to come. If you want the good result, it should be undisturbed. You must wait for the time. There is no point in hurrying. So, that is why spirituality, in spiritual life, all your glory, all your success depends on how you conduct yourself, how you practice yourself, how you organize your mind yourself. Accordingly, you are shaping yourself in the spiritual path. Chapter 25, Advice to Pandit Shashadhar. Sri Ramakrishna was in his room, sitting on a mat spread on the floor. Pandit Shashadhar and a few devotees were with him on the mat, and the rest sat on the bare floor. Surendra, Baburam, M, Harish, Latu, Hazra, and others were present. It was about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Sri Ramakrishna had met Pandit Shashadhar 6 days before in Calcutta, and now the Pandit had come to Dakshineshwar to visit the master. Bhudar Chattopadhyaya and his elder brother, the Pandit's hosts, were with him. The Pandit was a follower of the path of Jnana. The master was explaining this path to him. He said, Nitya and Leela are the two aspects of one and the same reality. He who is the indivisible Satchidanand has assumed different forms for the sake of his Leela. As he described the nature of the ultimate reality, the master every now and then became unconscious in samadhi. While he talked, he was intoxicated with spiritual fervor. He said to the Pandit, My dear sir, Brahman is immutable and immovable, like Mount Sumeru, but he who is immovable can also move. The master was in ecstasy. He began to sing in his melodious voice. Who is there that can understand what Mother Kali is? Even the 6 darshanas are powerless to reveal her. He went on, Is Mother merely a simple woman, born as others are born? Only by chanting her holy name does Shiva survive the deadly poison. An allusion to the poison that appeared when the ocean was churned by the gods and demons. Shiva drank it out of kindness to others, and the poison remained in his throat, giving it a blue color. Therefore, Shiva is known as the god with a blue throat. She it is who creates the worlds, she who preserves and destroys with a mere wink of her wondrous eyes. She holds the universe in her womb. Seeking a shelter at her feet, the gods themselves feel safe. And Mahadev, God of gods, lies prostrate underneath her feet. Again he sang, Is Mother only Shiva's wife? To her must needs bow down the all-destroying king of death. Naked she roams about the world, slaying her demon foes, or stands erect on Shiva's breast, her feet upon her husband's form. What a strange wife she makes! My mother's play, declares Prasad, shatters all rules and laws. Strive hard for purity, O mind, and understand my mother's ways. And again, Sri Ramakrishna sang, I drink no ordinary wine, but wine of everlasting bliss. As I repeat my Mother Kali's name, it so intoxicates my mind that people take me to be drunk. And again he sang, Can everyone have the vision of Shama? Is Kali's treasure for everyone? Oh, what a pity my foolish mind will not see what is true. Even with all his penances, rarely does Shiva himself behold. the mind-bewitching sight of Mother Shama's crimson feet. To him who meditates on her, the riches of heaven are poor indeed. If Shama casts her glance on him, he swims in eternal bliss. The prince of yogis, the king of the gods, meditate on her feet in vain. Yet worthless Kamala Kant yearns for the mother's blessed feet. The master's ecstatic mood gradually relaxed. He stopped singing and sat in silence. After a while, he got up and sat on the small couch. Pandit Shashidhar was charmed with his of sin's rough wind that drove it swiftly toward the earth. Then he sang, "Once for all, this time I have thoroughly understood from one God whom the poet worshipped as the Divine Mother, who knows it well. I have learned the secret of bhava. A man has come to me from a country where there is no night. And now I can't distinguish day from night any longer. Rituals and devotions have all grown profitless for me. My sleep is broken. How can I slumber any more? For now I am wide awake in the sleeplessness of yoga. O Divine Mother, made one with thee in yoga sleep, at last my slumber I have lulled asleep for evermore. I bow my head, says Prasad, before desire and liberation. Knowing the secret that Kali is one with the highest Brahman, I have discarded once for all both righteousness and sin." Sri Ramakrishna continued, "I have surrendered my soul at the fearless feet of the Mother. Am I afraid of death any more? Unto the tuft of hair on my head is tied the almighty mantra, Mother Kali's name. My body I have sold in the marketplace of the world, and with it have bought Sri Durga's name." As Sri Ramakrishna sang the line, "and with it have bought Sri Durga's name," the tears flowed from Pandit Shashidhar's eyes. The master went on with the song. "Deep within my heart I have planned the name of Kali. Deep within my heart I have planted the name of Kali, the wish-fulfilling tree of heaven. When Yama, king of death, appears, to him I shall open my heart and show it growing there. I have cast out from me my 6 unflagging foes, the 6 passions. Ready am I to sail life's sea, crying to Durga victory." Again he sang, "Dwell, O mind, within yourself, enter no other's home. If you but seek there, you will find all you are searching for." And again he sang, "Though I am never loath to grant salvation," the song represents Sri Krishna's words, "I hesitate indeed to grant pure love. Whoever wins pure love surpasses all. He is adored by men. He triumphs over the 3 worlds." The Pandit had studied the Vedas and the other scriptures. He loved to discuss philosophy. The master, seated on the couch, cast his benign look on the Pandit and gave him counsel through parables. Master said to the Pandit, "There are many scriptures like the Vedas, but one cannot realize God without austerity and spiritual discipline. God cannot be found in the 6 systems, the Vedas or the Tantra. But one should learn the contents of the scriptures and then act according to their injunctions. A man lost a letter. He could not remember where he had left it. He began to search for it with a lamp. After 2 or 3 people had searched, the letter was at last found. The message in the letter was, 'Please send us 5 shares of sandesh and a piece of wearing cloth.' The man read it and then threw the letter away. There was no further need of it. Now all he had to do was to buy the 5 shares of sandesh and the piece of cloth." Shall stop here. Any questions to ask? How to control the thoughts? Hmm? That's the point. Yes.
You're talking about faith and prayer, which is the same prayer that we're going to recite shortly about, praying for everybody in the world, may everybody be happy, may everybody believe. And sometimes when I say that prayer, if I'm in a cynical mood, I think it's a very nice thought, but I'm never going to have it. This is Maya, and a certain number of people are always going to be miserable, and a certain number of people are always going to have disease. And yet, we go through this prayer saying, let's not have this because it's not nice. But it's the reality that we live in, the illusion we live in.
So what's your exact question? What is the use of praying like that, is it? See, the world is full of so many things which we can't explain. Suffering, misery, all those things are there. So, when you pray, let all the people in the universe be happy, free from disease and suffering, you are trying to express your honest sympathy for those who are suffering. And those prayers do really have tremendous effect upon the people who are suffering. And the prayers done by pure souls will certainly have good response on those people and gives them sufficient relief. Even though the people are suffering, they get some kind of detachment from suffering. Oh, it is the nature of the body to suffer. Why should I bother? He begins to think that way. And so, the prayers which we are sending out, they are all invisible helpers for those people suffering. And sometimes they get relief, sometimes they are in a cheerful mood. It's all because of the prayers done by the people all around the world. And not only that, by praying that way, you grow spiritually. Let all the people be happy, let all be free from misery and suffering. If you feel that way, if you pray that way wholeheartedly, you feel a kind of peacefulness in your heart praying that way. And simply you can't expect, oh, I have made my prayer, so from tomorrow there won't be suffering anywhere in this world. That's not the idea. Suffering has many reasons. Why the suffering has come? Because of certain actions, because of certain things. There are so many factors. See, why the storm come? Why the terrific rain comes, thunderstorm, everything comes? Because of the depression in the bay. Some reactions in the ocean, some attraction and revulsion. On account of some law of interaction, things happen. But if you know them things happen because of these interactions, you are not bothered about them. On the other hand, you will find out how to live with all that. If you know the storm is coming, you take the steps to be away from the storm. In the same way, so many things happen in the world, and you can definitely be careful about things and how you can grow yourself. So that way, by praying in a positive way, let all be happy and so on, you are able to concentrate your mind on that thought more and more effectively. Then that gives a kind of relief, not only to the people who are suffering, but also to yourself who is praying. That's the idea. It's all meant for spiritual growth. All these are meant for spiritual growth. How can you pray for everybody unless you love them, unless you feel for them? So that means that automatically follows. You should not hate anybody. On the other hand, you should try to help them. So there's all different ways of cultivating love and devotion towards the ideal. Anything else? Do you have? No. Barbara? Which one? Karuna. Karuna. See, Karuna, just like Shraddha. Whatever translation you make for that, it looks very insufficient to explain the glory of that word. Daya. Daya is another word. Daya is also a Sanskrit word. The act of showing sympathy, it includes tremendous love. Without love, it cannot come. Karuna cannot manifest. To give an example, the mother loves her child of 2 years or 3 years old, the baby. She is full of karuna. Her whole being is ever alert. Her whole mind is always thinking about the welfare of the child. Even though the child is playing somewhere else, her mind is always there. Even though she is engaged in work. Even the slightest noise, she runs. What happened to my child? All these are all acts of karuna. So, very nice word it is. That is why Swami Vivekananda came to America, because of karuna. He loved humanity so much. One day, it happened in Calcutta, in Birmat. So some class was going on, and afterwards the disciples and Girish Chandra Ghosh also was there. They all went to see Swami Vivekananda. And Swami Vivekananda was there at that time in Birmat. When they went and saw, tears were flowing through his eyes. They were all shocked to see why Swamiji is sad, why Swamiji is weeping. Swamiji, the incarnation of strength, why is weeping? They were all stunned. But afterwards they came to know Swamiji was really feeling, he could not contain the feeling in the heart, so it gave expression to tears. What happened was, somewhere in the world, that's also mentioned there, some fire broke out and lots of people were injured and many people died. It created havoc. That created misery, that created sorrow for Swami Vivekananda. That is karuna. He really felt for them. So out of that karuna only he came to give the message of Vedanta. People did not ask for it. He himself came. That is karuna. God comes in the form of incarnation. Why? Because of karuna. He loves the beings, he loves his creation. He wants to show them the way. So he comes. Otherwise people will not learn at all. They think they have to suffer only.